Wildcats, it's a sharp focus. You got to bring the intensity from the jump. Everybody needs to be dialed in for 40 minutes, and they got to board with a vengeance. They've got to focus on generating some extra possessions and opportunities tonight on the offensive glass.
K-State to work in their white uniforms. They begin with the ball, same starting five they've had throughout the season. Lee gets her first touch, man-to-man against McGlone. A turnaround fade away, a bit farther away for the basket than perhaps Lee wanted it. And a stop by the Panthers on their first defensive assignment as you get a look at their starting five.
And if you want to be able to contain Ayoka Lee, especially when she gets so deep into that post, you got to push her off. You got to create some space and some distance. Don't allow her to just be able to go right over the top of you.
Laughlin tried to reverse layup on Lee. The right idea, spread it out and drive, but misses as you get a look at K-State starting five. Walker, an aggressive take and finish.
And that's where she is kind of continuing where she was on on Sunday afternoon. She had 9.9 points per game so far in the season, but you think about the last two games, 10 assists in the last two games that they have been out. A big piece of her is to know when she's going to be able to score and when you've got to create for your teammates.
She, along with Sundell and Glenn, all three players rank in the top 6 in the league in assist-to-turnover ratio, and all three in the top 20 in the country in assist-to-turnover ratio. Taking care of the basketball and sharing the ball, a big factor for this K-State team early. Walker, who had 4 steals in the first quarter of the game on Sunday, gets another to start in this game, and she's got the first 4.
She's been challenged by this Kansas State coaching staff to be a lockdown defender. How can you create? You not only create for yourself, but you create for your teammate. It's a spark, and that defense is what sets the tones for this Kansas State team right now.
Roush with the ball, guarded by Sundell, man-to-man by K-State here early. You see all the players out of the post as they try to get Lee away from the center of the floor. Inside, the ball knocked away from McGlone and picked away by Sundell. Another takeaway by the K-State defense. Ahead again to Walker. Puts her shoulder into a defender, and an offensive foul is going to be called, or a jump ball will be called, and the tie-up goes to Eastern Illinois.
Well, this philosophy right now by the Panthers, that 5-out look, it's a smart way to go. You got to pull Ayoka Lee out of the lineup, but a great defensive effort by Kylie Flowers to be able to get that jump ball, and the possession goes the other way for this team. Keep in mind, Flowers, she is one of the best defenders in the Ohio Valley Conference. She led the league a year ago at SEMO in steals.
Coming off a fantastic season so far in steals, one of the best in the nation at that, 27 already this year. Quick hands for Flowers, who takes great pride in that defense. Looking for Lee here over a double team, shorted it, got her own rebound against a triple team, won't get the whistle, and the rebound to the Panthers.
And Eastern's done a good job of just staying vertical, and you've just got to be able to hold your ground against Ayoka Lee. Don't let her push you off that low block.
Lee leaves McGlone, a long 2 won't go. Panthers have started 0 of 3 from the floor. K-State goes to the other end. Lob for Lee, too far. It's out of bounds to K-State.
And that's a tough pass to be able to make from 25, 30 feet of where these Kansas State guards are. You got to give yourself a better angle. And when you pause and take a moment, it allows the defense to shift. That's where EIU has been. They have been in great help side here in these first 2 minutes.
Walker had it ripped away in the inbound play. Good coverage by the Panthers. Skip pass coming up ahead, and Poindexter knocks it away.
You want to push tempo, and when you have an opportunity to, and that's where if you can kind of make this Kansas State team have to play more transition defense and allow themselves to get set. We've seen what they've done so far. They've been incredibly active, already 2 steals in this game, just simply because they can get that half-court D set and be in the right spot.
Inside the top of the circle, shot well short, taken by Flowers. This time, no pass to Lee. Sundell will skip it across. K-State changing up their offense a little bit, trying to go high post, low post. Sundell has it ripped away and taken away, scraping those arms inside by Eastern Illinois. They turn K-State over. 3 turnovers in the early going.
They have forced them right into the traffic, and early on here, Kansas State looking to feed the post, but they can't quite get those touches for Lee. You can't get stagnant.
Flowers driving, trying to flip late, that throws it away, and some subs for both teams. And while we have a moment, let's welcome in Hannah Whetstone for more on Kylie Flowers, the senior who has a little bit of a homecoming today.
Hey, thanks, Brian. That's absolutely right. She is having a little bit of a homecoming, the Missouri native. Listen, defense is her specialty. Now, head coach Marcus McLaughlin said she is a really competitive player. He said on the defensive side, she's intense. Off the court, he said she's the nicest person, but on the court, she's my type of player from a defensive standpoint.
Thank you, Hannah. Not a good pass by Glenn. Lee trying to get the ball back, can't. So far, they're letting them play. It's pretty physical in there.
Yeah, it's been incredibly physical, a lot of active hands, and right now Kansas State just out of sync offensively. They've got to get more movement, and you got to be able to pull this defense out. They're trying to run their offense inside the three-point line, and that is where the traffic is. If you're Jeff Mittie, spacing is such a big piece of where the success factor has been early in the season for this Wildcat offense.
A couple of subs for K-State. Taryn Sides, we opened the night talking about, along with Kennedy Taylor in, and an offensive foul is going to be called for the first foul of the game. And it'll go against Eastern Illinois as Sides was trying to defend the dribble drive.
Yeah, that's a tough call on Rouse. She started every game so far this season. A transfer coming into Eastern Illinois. She started every game a year ago at Bradley as well, out of the Missouri Valley. So a lot of game experience for her, trying to make something happen within that half-court offense.
Walker being pressured by Flowers out high. Finds Taylor, the good catch and finish.
And now if you're Eastern Illinois, you can't change the game plan. Even if Ayoka Lee goes out, you still got to be in help side. But a good read by Taylor, cleared space, got high in the lane, able to finish.
6-0 start for the Wildcats. Trying to maintain their perfect record at home, 6 of those so far this season. 11th in net ranking that just came out. Drive here by Flowers, able to finish over Walker. The former AAU teammate of the Glenn twins, and Serena Sundell gets her first basket.
And that's spreading the floor. This 5-out look becoming a bit of an issue right now for Kansas State, giving up great penetration lanes and space. Taylor
fouled on the inside. Will be at the free throw line when we return. First foul of the game on Eastern Illinois. We're talking more about the Panthers and about the opportunity that exists today. That when we return.
A fight to get out of them. He said that sometimes you will fail, sometimes you will succeed, but anytime you're dealing with pressure, it's an opportunity to go do something great.
And in some respects, thank you, Hannah, that's kind of applying to him this year as the interim head coach. And we talked about that as well. It's a little bit of a different thing, but he's not focused on that. He has a great relationship with the athletic director and the president. Talks with them a lot. Feels like we're just going to go about your business.
And that's really all you can do. There's a lot at hand. And when you are taking over a program, you move from one seat to the next. It's a big jump from moving from an assistant to associate head coach into the #1 chair. A lot more falls on your shoulders. But you think about this team and your focus just has to be on the season. They started 0-4, but now winners of 2 straight. A really big challenge here tonight in Manhattan.
Sundell with a block. That's been part of her game since she's arrived on campus. That length at 6'2" as a point guard. Walker with Flowers right on it. Into Taylor, who's had a good start. Misses this turnaround. And the Panthers, who have held their own here to start the game, come back the other way. Chance to make it a 1-possession game.
We said it at the top, they have not shot the ball well from the three-point line. They were 0-14 in their last game. But right now you can see opportunity to get down that hill to the rim. McGlone just cannot finish. We're talking about the Ohio Valley Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year a season ago in 2024, and she just can't find the offense right now.
In the meantime, Zy Walker has been really the only offense for K-State. She has 6 of the 9 points for the Wildcats and assisted on the other on the layup by Taylor.
As we said earlier, picking up where she left off from the other night, 9 points, 5 assists, 5 steals against Central Arkansas. You're averaging close to 10 a game. That's a huge lift at that point position.
Trying to get Lewis free. Her first jumper is in. Tanya Lewis, who we opened the conversation about tonight on the broadcast, talking about instant offense off the bench.
And a three-point threat, but ability to put it on the floor and create, sort of with that high arch runner. But either way, hand in your face, you got to find a way to put it into the basket.
Samira Poindexter. Jeff Mitty mentioned that they kind of wanted her to take some more shots when she felt like she was open. That she hits her first three. Poindexter, the senior transfer, an All-American a year ago at Tulsa with her first basket.
She was 3 of 4 against Central Arkansas from behind the arc after going just 1 of 7 versus DePaul out in Las Vegas. So you see kind of making that jump. You got to be able to put yourself in a position to catch and be ready to shoot the basketball.
She'll drive in the lane here. Late trailer 3 for Sides. Yes! Sides remains hot and forces the timeout by Eastern Illinois.
The secondary break is where Kansas State has made a living over the past couple weeks. So if you can get a defensive rebound and go the other way, you are now creating offense with that defense. Poindexter knows she's going to have a shooter in the corner. Sundell doesn't take the 3 because they get the closeout, but the trailer is where Sides comes and knocks it down. She has been hot, 15 points, 4 assists against Central Arkansas. The one number I liked out of the sophomore, Brian, she played almost 29 minutes in that game. That's the type of consistency factor. You got to build that game. You got to build those numbers. You got to kind of build your stamina, your game stamina. I think Taryn Sides is doing that here, and this is a great stretch for her to continue to grow.
Jeff Mitty the other night mentioned that with Sides, he actually told her he wanted her to get her shot swatted a couple of times, and she said, why would you ever want that? His point was, I want you to be so much of a threat that people are running at you, and if they're blocking your shot, that means they're out there guarding you, which is what we want. People pulled away. He said it happened in the game the other day, last week, where she had her shot swatted. She came to the bench. He was all smiles. She says, there we go. We got the first one. We're off and running. Well, she's been red hot since.
And I think that also goes to having an aggressive mentality, that you've got to be assertive and that you have to kind of choose your times. You are surrounding yourself right now with great talent and an All-American center. Your job right here for the 4 to 5 years that she was in high school, all she knew to do was to have the ball in her hands and be a scorer. It's different now. But in this mentality, you've got to understand you pick and choose. So when my time comes, I'm ready. And that aggressiveness and that assertiveness comes into play.
A 6-0 run here for the Wildcats the last 30 seconds on 2 threes, one by Poindexter, one by Sides. What answer does Eastern Illinois have after a 60-second timeout? Lewis working against Poindexter, gets her in the air, but the shot rolls short. Shot clock violation forced. K-State with a rebound anyway. They're pushing tempo again. Sides, another late trailer, forces a defender to come out on her. K-State couldn't get it to lead. They'll swing it around to Sundell. And the throwback eludes Sides and an over and back.
We've seen sort of as this Kansas State team gets bunched up, this offense has kind of tried to operate within kind of inside the three-point line, which you like to be aggressive. You want to be able to go inside out, look for that mid-range game, but you got to spread the floor. I think right now this K-State squad's putting it on, they're putting it on the deck, and they are going right into the trouble.
McGlone working underneath. We'll get a foul on Ayoka Lee. That'll be the first foul on Lee. And a matchup between the two all-conference stars.
Yeah, impressed so far by McGlone. That 6'3", the fifth-year senior, came from Milwaukee. She's originally from Wisconsin, averaging almost 19 points a game, but her ability on the step-through to be able to get by people, and this is the one piece of her game that is such a lift. She shoots 82% from the line. She has shot 3 times as many attempts as any other player on the roster so far this year. So when she can get touches and get to the line, it's almost automatic.
2-time first-team Ohio Valley Player of the Year. Trying to defend and hold her own against the All-American Ayoka Lee inside.
And these are great challenges. If I'm a 5th-year senior and you say, this is an awesome opportunity, this is what you want to do, this is why you come back, this is why you have that 5th year, that grad season. It makes all the difference in the world to challenge yourself against some of the very best in the country.
Well, clearly the focus today for Kansas State has been get it inside to Lee, but Lee, to this point, 5 minutes, 0 of 3 from the floor, and has drawn a crowd, as you would expect from the Panthers here early on. Sundell to inbound.
And I think the other the side of that coin, Brian, is that you can't be just completely siloed and looking at only that. I think if you're Kansas State, that ball's got to get better movement. They finally get her a touch. It was a step late on the help side from the back, and that's where she's able to clear room. But Sundell makes a great entry pass, puts it in a space where it's away from the defender, and the help is going to come in a chance at that old-fashioned three-point play. But you don't want your guards, you don't want your perimeter players to become siloed. They can't just simply that be the only thing that they look for. You got to diversify the game. You got to understand what the defense gives you.
And I think that was the lesson, that was the talk coming out of the Duke game. It felt like perhaps that got a little bit of the worry. He got out for that big run, a good start, 11-0 against Duke to begin the game, and they kept looking for Lee, and maybe forcing the issue too much. Now you've hit a couple of threes, you're starting to spread it out, and things have started to work out for Lee that time on the pass from Sundell as they rotated it around one-on-one inside.
Well, and the beauty of makes, whether it's a live ball or at a free throw, it allows you to get your defense set, allows you to get that pressure set, and they forced the turnover. Even though they had crossed half court, it was a tough pass going cross court, and another mistake by the Panthers.
Lob again to Lee. Sundell finds the All-American inside. 5 for Lee all of a sudden. K-State's lead 15, an 11-1 run right now. No field goals in nearly 3 minutes for Eastern Illinois, who hung in there early. Flowers to McGlone, facing up against Lee. Gets the friendly roll for her first field goal.
Tough move by Macy McGlone just to go one-on-one, but because she faces up against Ayoka Lee, that gives her an advantage.
Last part of the first quarter, jumper misses from Roush, and we're at the end of one. Kansas State with a late 11-1 run, and Ayoka Lee a big part of that.
The ball sticks, and when that K-State got good ball movement, that's exactly what happens, is that ball goes from one side of the floor to the other. You get good motion, you get to make the defense have to work, and you get those isolations and opportunities.
That was a great feed by Lester in, but Lee unable to handle it, got a little too sped up.
But kind of a wrinkle to that high-low, where then you bring your post player to that kind of to the elbow area, and then let her take a dribble and see if she can't clear some space. Lester did exactly what she could do. Ayoka Lee just couldn't handle it.
Lee had it go off of hers. The pass was intended for McGlone, and so it'll stay with Kansas, or with Eastern Illinois. Of course, the other story tonight is Ayoka Lee chasing the all-time scoring record at K-State. She needs 13 points coming in, so 8 points now from this point forward to become the all-time leading scorer at K-State. McGlone perhaps hit on the arm, no whistle. And here come the Wildcats the other way. And again, they've let them play both ways. There's only been one foul this entire game to this point. Sundell just short of the shot. Rebound out of bounds to Eastern Illinois.
Yeah, it's been incredibly physical on both ends of the floor, and a lot of active hands, a lot of pushing and shoving on both sides, especially when players have put it on the floor to penetrate. You got to be able to handle that contact. Don't get shoved off your line.
Off the bench, Jada Johnston has come in for Eastern Illinois. Here's McGlone working on Lee, turning over Lester as well. The ball knocked out by K-State. Panthers have 9 on the shot clock.
And the turnaround jumper by McGlone, just trying to go one-on-one and see if she can't get by Lee. She's going to have the advantage. She's got a quick first step and a great pull-through when she goes. But that fadeaway jumper, much more difficult to finish.
Just 1 for 7. K-State collapses on McGlone, and both Lester and Sundell in the neighborhood. We'll see who Scott Yarbrough says the foul is on. He'll give it to Serena Sundell.
Good movement by Eastern Illinois. A lot of switching forces the Kansas State defense to have to spread. And then McGlone gets loose on the entry pass. As we said, coming in was 82% so far this season from the line. And now she's just 1 of 3 here to start this game. Make it 2 of 4.
Got the second, 4 points to lead the way for Eastern Illinois. Little pressure here to face the guards of K-State. And again, Eastern Illinois taking a page out of Duke, trying to provide some pressure on the K-State backcourt, see if that can result in some good things. Jaden Glenn along the baseline to an open Sundell. Just a little strong in the three-pointer. Rebound to Flowers. Panthers pushing tempo to try and beat Lee up the court. K-State gets settled. Flowers ripped on the 5 by Glenn, and the ball off of the leg of Flowers will be a turnover.
And that's why help defense to put yourself in a space where you can just create a little bit of havoc. You get a tip, and what happens? Kansas State now gets that turnover. Flowers is going to try to go deep, doesn't use the screen. Sundell bites, but instead you've got Glenn in good help side. She had a shooter in the corner. You can't come too deep, but they get the turnover, go the other way.
See that switch defensively just before that with Lee and Glenn that allowed her to free up. There's Lester. He's not a threat from that point. Sundell. State turns it over and tries to find a way to get it into Lee. Walker back in the game. Pass telegraphed and too late.
Yeah, you got to capitalize. As you said, you get the turnover, you got to find a way to capitalize. But this K-State offense right now, a little bit more stagnant in the half court. You over dribble, you play too deep. Spacing is going to be key here as they go forward.
Walker with a shot clock winding down, hammers the 3. Cy Walker with 9.
Great patience by the redshirt sophomore to be able to get that 3 off. Give credit, because Eastern Illinois had guarded it great as the shot clock was running down. She knocks down a huge 3.
Flowers, as Walker went under the screen, Flowers makes her pay. With more on Ziana Walker, let's go to Hannah Whetstone.
Hey, thanks, Brian. In their last game out against Central Arkansas, Ziana Walker recorded a 5x4 stat line, which means she had 9 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 steals. Now, head coach Jeff Mittie says the one thing I see with Ziana now is she's letting the game come to her. She's able to play through a bad stretch better, and that's the mark of a confident player. He said he's proud of the work that Walker has put in, both in the offseason and through this pre-conference campaign.
Now, they're hoping that she becomes the de facto vocal leader of this team as they look towards the future. With no Lee, no Sundell, the Glens, or at least one of the Glens moving on. Lewis jumper on the side won't go. Lewis Lee the rebound. But you can see offensively, K-State, Jeff Mittie used this phrase the other day, playing to a standard. I think he's going to bring that up again when he visits with Hannah at halftime, because offensively, it doesn't feel like K-State is playing to that quote-unquote standard that they had before.
Yeah, I think you're getting some open jumpers. They've knocked down a 3 at the shot clock. Glenn kind of gets loose, knocks down the mid-range, but even with a 14-point lead, it feels as though Eastern Illinois has left a lot out there. They have had some good shots that have not gone in, and they have played hard, and they have been very aggressive defensively. Their game plan has been on point. You just have to be able to answer when you get the misses and the turnovers.
No stranger to playing good opponents so far this year. Played 23rd ranked Illinois. Kansas State gets Lee inside.
And those are the positions and the possessions that K-State has to be able to convert on. When you get the defense scrambling and Ayoka Lee's got the isolation down low, deep on that low block, you've got to be able to find her. She's got to get a touch.
Long 3 by McGlone doesn't go. Lee trying to get the rebound, can't get it. It's off the Panthers. No, it's off of K-State. And it'll stay with Eastern Illinois. Lee will come out along with Lester, but Lester paired with her, kind of a different look for K-State. Played pretty well at that power forward spot. Look at this tip ball.
Gives them a lot of size and just different matchup problems for your opponent. As we have said, the depth that Kansas State has this season at the bench, which has not been there over the last couple years, a big bonus right now for Jeff Mittie and his staff. He can rotate through. There will be times where they will come up against opponents you're going to have to play smaller. There may be no Kennedy or Lester on the floor, and that's okay. But the majority of the time, this is where they make them pay, is out front in the backcourt.
Walker with yet another steal, trying to lob it up. There's Taylor to clean up the mess. Put it in and one.
A bit of a broken play for Kansas State, and Eastern Illinois just unfortunately going to be whistled for the foul. Glenn kind of tried the lob, wasn't really there, but a ton of traffic and Kennedy Taylor in to clean it up. Thought as though the whistle was going to come on the push against Sundell. It really probably should have been. Instead, Scott Yarborough with the and one for Kennedy Taylor, and an unfortunate turn of events right there for Eastern Illinois, just simply because you get a stop, you get a tip, but then you draw a foul and the three-point play takes it the other direction.
Now the foul on DeRoche, Sydney James DeRoche out of Miami, Florida. Kansas State on a 7-0 run. They're in the midway point of the second quarter. Quick three put up right side by DeRoche. Won't go. Taylor another rebound. Taylor with a good game so far as well in the post. 6 points, couple of boards. Here's Walker all the way to the basket. Foul on the take up, and she'll go to the free throw line. Zy Walker in this first half, 9 points, 3 assists, couple of steals.
We mentioned Terrence Sides and how the message has been to her to continue to be assertive. Well, the message to Zyanna Walker, I think absolutely the same one, is that you've got to continue to be a creator, whether it's for yourself or for your teammate. Primary ball handler, that you are going to have the ball in your hands the majority of the time. Make good decisions with it. That time maybe a little bit out of control coming across the lane, but either way you get yourself to the free throw line. This is another piece of the game where you can have an impact, where it doesn't automatically have to be all flash on the break or knocking down a three-point shot. Draw fouls, get to the line, make them pay.
Well, and she does. 84%. Yep. The best free throw shooter on the team is Zy Walker for Kansas State. Kind of a do-it-all guard. Sensational talent out of high school in Wichita. The number 8 player in the country at the guard position. Went to Louisville, sat the bench for most of the year. Redshirted, transferred here to K-State. A good roll off the bench last year, averaging about 7 a game. This year, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5.5 assists already for the Wildcats early on. And a foul by Maupin, who just came into the game. Will send us to a timeout. Second foul on K-State, the first on Maupin. K-State on a 9-0 run the last 2 minutes. They've held their ground defensively as well, not big.
High-low, it could be a drive, a dribble drive, or a pull-through from your post. Either way, get to the rim. Force EIU to have to really find a way to stop you inside.
Panthers with the basketball out of the timeout after a foul by Maupin, who stays in the game. Lee out for the moment. She has 7 points, so 6 away from the all-time scoring record at K-State. And what's away for the ball on a travel is going to be called. Other than that, be a foul away as a driver, a cutter. Ella Loon looks like she kind of rolled her ankle a little bit and went to the ground.
That extends the scoring drought for Eastern Illinois. Over 3 minutes now. This is where Kansas State's got to be able to continue to put their foot on the gas, but a change defensively here. The Panthers have gone zone.
Lob over the top, Taylor wide open, misses it, but it gets tapped out to K-State.
I think surprised that there was no help side coming from that opposite corner to make some of these changes here. And now Eastern Illinois just trying to pack it in the lane, make a more of a concerted effort. You've got to rebound out of that zone, and you got to get out and you got to contest shooters.
Loon's going to come out with that left ankle and go to the end of the bench to get some attention. Jada Johnston returns for Eastern Illinois. Shot clock winding down. Glenn left wide open, swishes the three.
Jalen Glenn, 41% from 3. It's not the quickest of release, and she needs time to get her feet set, but no contest from Eastern Illinois, and she knocks it down.
Over 40% shooter from behind the arc. You're going to play zone. Going to have to, at some point, get out on shooters. If you're Eastern Illinois. Glenn caught up in the wash here. Jumper by Roush won't go. Taylor up high to tap the rebound, but it goes out. So Betty applauding the effort by Taylor. Some minutes here in place of Lee. Taylor, 6 points, 4 boards in just 5 minutes of play. 12-0 run here by K-State. Scoring drought reaching 4 minutes for the Panthers.
And I think you're going to see more minutes for players like Taylor, Lester, even Maupin, especially as K-State thinks about their load management, how they want to deal with Ayoka Lee, especially against some of these non-conference opponents as they start to ramp up their schedule headed towards conference play.
Well, it's a busy week, too. You've got finals week next week. Walker will miss her first shot. Taylor has the rebound fall to her. Blocked from behind by McGlone as she goes up. Eastern Illinois back on the ball. But you got the game today. You got a game Thursday. And then Sunday at A&M. Second foul on Maupin, and almost on cue, here comes Ayoka Lee. Here is the schedule for K-State. They'll play 4 games in a week. And and get some time off before New Mexico State. And then Big 12 play already starting before Christmas this year with the new size of the Big 12 Conference. Cincinnati.
It's so strange to think about conference games, but I also have to remember there are Big 10 games that are going to be played starting next week. So conference plays, bigger conferences, more teams. You got to fit it all in. This Kansas State and how the Big 12 will do it, for those that don't understand, 3 that you play at home and home, 6 you play on the road, 6 you play at home.
Maupin with the rebound will bring it up. Another miss. Sides thought about the 3. Trying to draw the defense. Get past to Poindexter. A long 3-pointer. Maupin saves the rebound but couldn't keep it with K-State. Flowers with tempo. In the lane, little runner.
Great decision by Flowers, and caught that basketball. No one picked her up out in the full court. You continue to attack and finish at the rim.
Lob goes to Lee. This time collects herself and scores. 9 for Lee, 4 away from the record.
And the message from the Eastern Illinois coaches is that there's got to be more pressure out on the guards. Too easy right now for Kansas State to sit and pick and throw that ball inside.
In the pick and roll there. Flowers forced to give it up. Roush will cut left side on the baseline and score. Her first basket. And the Panthers, the last few times down the floor, have run some pretty good sets against the K-State defense. Here's Sides on a give and go with Maupin. Skipping it all the way cross court for Poindexter. She'll drive in the lane. Get her man in the air. Shot clock down to 10, a minute 40 plus to go in this second quarter. Shot clock under 5. Maupin has to take the elbow jumper and could not hit it.
Great defensive possession that time by the Panthers. Good movement by the Wildcats, but that ball never went into the post. You've got to be able to continue to get those touches.
Flowers and McGlone working to pick and roll out high. Flowers drives, reverse layup doesn't go. McGlone crashing, gets the rebound, can't get the follow.
They've had so many easy ones that I know that they would love to have back, but that continued pressure of thinking Ayoka Lee as that rim protector always there in the post.
Sundell forced off the 3-point line and then throws it away. 9 first half turnovers on K-State. Good dish at the last second, finds Tiny Lewis, who has 4.
A lot of activity, great active hands. Good movement and pressure on that possession by the Panthers. When K-State over dribbles, you get a little careless. That's when the turnovers have come.
Sundell knifing through, left side of the lane, hits the first jumper of the night. The mid-range, something Sundell has shown a little bit more of a 3-level scorer this year.
It adds to her game and just creates another reason why she is such a tough matchup for so many teams across the country. The 3-point threat off the dribble drive for the most of her career, but now that mid-range jumper, it is very difficult to guard.
Flowers against her former AAU teammate, can't hit. Final 10 seconds belong to K-State as another gap goat stop goes up. Poindexter down to the baseline, scores it right before the buzzer, and the Wildcats at the half up 41-19. K-State hitting 57% of their first half.
But very rarely, you got to go in. You got to punch your ticket by winning that conference tournament and get that automatic bid.
And you use the success points from a game like tonight to build the confidence for that game. And your turnover on the inbound play as Eastern has it to begin here this second 20 minutes. We'll see what this first few stretches of the third quarter have for both teams. Adjustments are made and intensity ramps up. Walker, another steal. She's got Poindexter running with her. Walker tries the wild shot. Poindexter gets the offensive glass. Wildcats into the half court. Poindexter takes a quick 3, and that'll be off the back iron. Let's go to Hannah Whetstone, who had a chance to catch up with the aforementioned Marcus McLaughlin. What do you have to say, Hannah?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. The Eastern Illinois coach told me he liked his defensive physicality in the first half, but he wants to see that translate to more offensive opportunities for them. He said the message at halftime in the locker room to his team was do not play scared here in the second half against an aggressive Kansas State.
Sundell, the hard drive, and she'll get the foul call, even though she may have ran over a planted defender inside the arc. Sundell gets called for the charge.
Yeah, she's going to be there, and give credit because that's where the help side has to be. Jada Johnson, the 6', fifth-year senior, coming off the bench, starting this second half, gets there in help side. That's a big whistle, and the possession going the other way. As you said, this is where you just got to kind of piece possessions together. Patience in the half court, execution is critical for Eastern Illinois. They're getting the looks that they want. You're pulling Ayoka Lee out. You've just got to make some buckets.
Poindexter with penetration, the pass back in, easy play for Lee. And now 2 points away from the all-time record at K-State.
That's probably the best position I think she's had all night, where she got deep, and McGlone just was not going to be able to battle that. She comes in at 6'3", and that usually is going to be an advantage, but going up against Ayoka Lee and the way she positions herself on the block, you are dead to rights if she gets that space.
Flowers driving past Poindexter, it's blocked from behind. The length of Poindexter, who now has 12 blocks on the season.
Great anticipation and does it without fouling, and that's a critical piece. Good defenders figure out a way to make stops and do it by staying on the floor.
Oh, just able to beat Lee to the rebound. Jumper won't fall. This rebound to K-State, and a foul from the far side will go against Johnston over the back.
Another tough play and hustle play by McGlone, gets that board, but you can't get it to go. Roush, as we said, one of those players, gives them that extra boost, a little bit of energy out at that guard position, but the backcourt just not able to knock down those open looks here tonight so far.
Poindexter in the corner, sets her feet, lets it fly.
Jada Johnson got too deep on the help side, and just enough time for Poindexter to get her feet set on the rotation deep in the corner.
Only 9 threes taken by K-State, but they've hit 5 of them. Inside, Poindexter swats away a shot by DeRoche. It comes loose to the Panthers. Flowers, full head of steam. That's blocked by Walker.
And it's been one-on-one for Eastern Illinois trying to attack this Kansas State defense. But give credit, the Cats have not flinched. They have been great defensively here to start this second half. I know a message, you got to translate it, keep it going as they did in the first.
Zy Walker, the last 2 games defensively has been a problem for opponents. Ball lost by DeRoche, picked up by K-State, on the run with Glenn. Not quite the numbers. Lob to Lee for the record. She got it! The all-time scoring leader at K-State is Ayoka Lee. The crowd going nuts as Lee is mobbed. It seems like her teammates are more excited than Lee is herself, but she is the all-time scoring leader in the history of the program.
Well, to be part of something like that, these young ladies on this team understand what that is. And if Ayoka Lee, if those of you that know her, she has been through a lot. And to be able to continue and knowing that she had an opportunity to come back, it wasn't about records, it wasn't about accolades. For her, it was about the experience, about being part of this Kansas State women's basketball program and doing her job to be able to win as many games as possible this season for this Kansas State team. But to get that record, you kind of get that past you. Now you can focus on some of those other things. Sometimes it does weigh. It can be a lot to carry, and it can be a lot for your teammates to carry too. They can check that box now. It's been taken care of.
Yeah, it felt like this game, especially early, that K-State was forcing it, trying to get Lee that record early. And maybe now, like you said, all right, that's down, that's gone. All right, let's just play ball and not have to worry about it. Lee would never admit to feeling pressure about something like that, as you said accurately and eloquently. She does not care about that stuff. But for the sake of everyone else, it was a foregone conclusion it would happen.
Yes.
And even though she's played, it's been over 7 years, her actual game total to get there is less than Wecker and Oldie because of the injuries. So you look at the numbers, 122 games comparative to Wecker and Oldie. She's right there, even though it's spread over more years.
Yeah, it is spread over more time. That kind of gives it a different flavor and a different feel. And really, I think the part that you have to appreciate out of those 3 women who are on that list now, 1, 2, 3, all different kinds of players. And I think that also gives credit because it doesn't just happen overnight. For a post player like Ayoka Lee, she's had to have a lot of help. She's had to have good guards and people that are willing to get her the basketball. She's done a lot of that work herself, whether it's on the glass, at the free throw line, just being the type of warrior that you have to be to put in the minutes and do it. But I think that's the beauty of what you see in the history of Kansas State basketball. A lot of great players, all different kinds, who set those records.
Yeah, those other 2 with their jerseys in the Raptors. Lee's will be up there someday as well, joining the rest. The top 4 scorers in K-State history, all above 2,100 career points. It's Brittany Chambers, along with Nicole Oldie, Kendra Wecker, and Al Lee. And someday all 4 will be up there. Lee's already got 1 banner, but for the single game scoring record. Taylor in her place gets 9 points on the and 1. 2 and 1s today for Kennedy Taylor. And the Wildcats with a 10-0 start to begin this 3rd quarter. So playing to a standard, that phrase that Jeff Biddy loves to use. K-State has come out and done that here in the 3rd quarter, defensively really locking up the Panthers. In the lane, Tiny Lewis forces a shot and an offensive foul as side sells contact underneath on DeRoche.
Yeah, she may have sold that just a little bit, but DeRoche trying to get that position, keep the possession alive for the Panthers. Whistles going the other direction, but you said a great start here, Brian, to this 3rd quarter for Kansas State. That 10-0 run, they have locked down Eastern Illinois, forced them into perimeter shots, and letdowns on the defensive end have given some easy buckets and penetration lanes for this Wildcat offense.
Defense came out a little too far on the 3-point threat from Sundell, allowed her to dribble drive for a shot. Georgia Cox, who came in for just a second or 2 in the first half, getting some extended time in the 3rd. DeRoche working on Poindexter. Jump shot not there. Great defense by Poindexter again. Up ahead it goes. Walker fired into Taylor. Working on Cox, the redshirt freshman, and missed it. Taylor gets the rebound. Wildcats will run some offense here. Walker had a great first half for K-State. Shot clock winding down. Sides trying to make something happen. Fadeaway jumper just short. Panthers hold serve. Sundell with a turnover. Gets the steal in transition. Up ahead quickly to Walker. Free throw line jumper won't go.
Now we've gone probably 2.5 to 3 minutes without a whistle, and both teams trying to figure out if they could get into some semblance of organization on the offensive end.
A lot of quick shots here by the Panthers, and K-State taking advantage of that. They've scored the first 12 points of this 3rd quarter. Poindexter fouled on the catch. That'll send us to a break. Nearly the first 6 minutes gone in this 3rd quarter. We've seen a record. Ayoka Lee, the all-time scoring leader now at Kansas State, on this basket with 2,334 points. You're watching the Big 12 on ESPN. Brittany Chambers, Tammy Romstad, all with their jerseys retired in the Raptors. Inbounds play, Maupin able to jump through the defense and slay it in.
Good decision right there by the junior not to try to catch it on the fly, but catch, gather, and finish. That's the piece right there. You got to kind of continue to make those steps, make good decisions when you have the ball in your hands.
Flowers working on Walker. Steps under, has her shot swatted again. That's been a great matchup today.
Well, you could see it was a one that was circled. You know that you're going to have to deal with Macy McGlone, the 6'3", 50-year senior who's the reigning Ohio Valley Player of the Year, as well as the Defensive Player of the Year. But Kylie Flowers, one that Kansas State knew they had to contain, because she's not only a great defender, but she's so fast with the basketball. She's going to be incredibly aggressive off the bounce. Off the bounce today hasn't been there because Walker has been so good at keeping her out of the lane.
And Colson, who was in for the first time, they had the ball stolen away by K-State. Shot clock under 5. Walker swiping at the ball. Colson will not get it off. Kansas State forces yet another shot clock violation, and it's Walker again in the middle of it all. What a line by Walker right now. 11 points. She hasn't scored in the second half, but 5 assists, 3 rebounds, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Trying to feed it into Taylor, has it swatted away. We heard Hannah earlier talk about that 5x4 number that she had. 5 categories with at least 4 statistical variants in it. As Lee comes back in after a rest for Taylor.
Well, find me a coach who doesn't like balance when it comes to a stat sheet, and that's something that's going to stand out to coaches. They're going to love that because it's not only just one specific thing. It's that you're doing multiple things, and that's what you are charged with. When you are going to be a point guard of a top 15 team in the nation, you got to have balance, and you got to have people come off the bench to knock down shots.
Lewis finally gets Eastern Illinois on the scoreboard here in the third quarter. It doesn't come until the 2:56 mark of the third quarter. 17-2 third quarter for K-State here. Trying to circle around to find Lee another point. She'll get it here on the baseline finish. 15 for Lee in limited minutes. Said K-State has been pretty cautious with Lee to begin the year, just with the injury history and knowing it's going to be a great season and long run, physical run of the Big 12. If you look at her numbers, however, as far as points and rebounds per minute, it's off the charts.
Yes. Well, and that's the one thing you've always gotten from Ayoka Lee is great efficiency. You know, so far this season, she's shooting over 60% from the field. Now she's averaging 18 points a game coming into tonight, but it hasn't been with major minutes. And so you think that efficiency number is going to be very high. We have always known that she's got great hands, which she's going to be able to get a touch, she's going to be able to finish. All of that plays well into what K-State needs to be able to do, to manage her minutes and make sure she stays as healthy as she possibly can as they kind of head towards that first Big 12 game towards the end of December.
Flowers with 9 points to lead East Illinois, able to get that teardrop over Lester, who was taken over at center for K-State. Final moments of the third quarter. Walker trying to get some separation for Lester. To the baseline and one!
Great move by Amani Lester, the redshirt sophomore. Doesn't take it to the middle of the lane, but lets the defender make a choice. And when you do that, now all of a sudden you have space. You come back the other way, go over that left shoulder, and a chance at the and one.
Boy, Lester taking some steps here the last few games for K-State as we get a lane violation on the Wildcats, so the free throw wiped out. Jeff Mitty really praising Lester after the last game, saying her defensive effort was key for the Wildcats as Lester played a significant amount of time, nearly 15 minutes.
Well, and she redshirted that first year at Louisville, comes here a year ago, got some backup minutes, dealt with her own injury issues towards the end of the season, missed a lot of time. So then you've got to think about, what does your spring and summer look like? How does she fit into the fall camp? How do you manage and put her back into the rotation? All of these are the question marks that this K-State coaching staff has been dealing with. And ultimately, it's a great problem to have because now all of a sudden there is some depth in the front court that they haven't been able to play with in the past.
Reverse layup up and in by Alana Filippo, the freshman out of Millbury, Massachusetts, who prepped in Connecticut. Her first basket of the season in her career. Sides the other way. Pull-up three-pointer for Terrence Sides. Still red hot from behind the arc. A perfect 3 of 3 night for Sides, who hit 5 out of 6 threes in the game on Sunday. Wildcats 7 of 11 from behind the arc today. There's action down the right side of the lane for Cox.
We have seen some great action from this Eastern Illinois offense, multiple possessions where they just have not been able to finish. But that time, good movement without the basketball by Cox. She keeps the possession alive. You cut hard, good things happen.
Sides working against Tani Lewis here. The 2-we profile in the open. Walker with the game clock winding down, missed it. Moppin, put back, couldn't get it. And that'll end the third quarter. but a 24-8 third frame allows Kansas State to put even more distance between themselves and Eastern Illinois.
24/7. Now head coach Jeff Mitty added, he said, I think they're just really good friends. They spend so much time together in the gym, which is a big benefit for point guards. He said they really understand how to play together, and you can see that connection when they're on the court. Now, regarding the fact that they're roommates, Jeff Mitty said it certainly doesn't hurt, right?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Now, I'm going to be honest. I applaud the fact that they're watching film and highlights at home together. I think we used to binge watch Friends and bad soap operas over lunch. So I don't. I applaud them. I feel like they've upped the game that maybe some of us back in the day.
We'll see if that holds true the entire season, that they're watching film. I feel like that might have been just said because Coach Mitty was in the room. But regardless, they both have a quirky sense of humor that, in catching up with Coach Mitty later, he said that they are perfect match as far as roommates because they both have this very dry, quirky sense of humor, and it plays off each other very well. Glenn, at the end of the shot clock, forced to put it up as both teams have begun to empty their bench.
Well, and I think you do create so much of that camaraderie, and I think you're going to start to see it, and you have already seen it. You find sort of that sync that you get with other players on the floor. You understand each other, you know their game, and when you spend time on the floor and off the floor, it makes a big difference. That camaraderie and that chemistry goes a long way.
Arroyo just got into the game. A redshirt freshman out of Madrid, Spain. That is what she does, is shoot the three. Hits one over Poindexter. Just the second three made of the night.
We mentioned
Eastern Illinois.
We mentioned at the start that it had been a tough shooting night in their win that they had coming into this game against IU Indy, that they went 0 of 14 from behind the three-point line. Not much better here tonight, but ultimately it's just been a struggle for them to get those, I think, quality three-point shots and knock them down. But when you have patience, it's a big piece of it. There's been good looks and so many missed opportunities.
Moppin again, running the floor. Too strong on the layup attempt. Kent State able to get to it with Poindexter. Glenn, who hit the three earlier, that's 8 threes for K-State, but only 13 attempts. Ball knocked out. It'll stay with the Wildcats here in the fourth quarter. Tiny Lewis makes a return to the lineup. Thursday night will be USC Upstate for K-State. Tonight, that team taking on 20th ranked Iowa State in Ames, and it's 84-30 about this same point in the fourth quarter in favor of the Cyclones. Quite a different story, three-point shooting there. 34 threes attempted by Iowa State in that game.
That's the system.
Yep.
And Kansas State also reaping the benefits of having an inside-outside game and knocking down threes here tonight. But when you go up against the Iowa State Cyclones, you know all 5 players on the floor have the green light. That changes how teams have to defend them.
Into the lane, Arroyo could not hit the shot. Rebound loose to the ground. And we'll get a tie-up. The arrow favors the Panthers, so we'll stay with them. You mentioned IU Indy. For those who are wondering what that is, that used to be IUPUI.
Yes.
They have changed their name to IU Indy, Indiana University of Indianapolis. And now, after this game, Indiana kind of on the mind again for Illinois State. They'll host Indiana State, and then they will go to Iowa State coming up on December 15th. It's almost like the old travel partners here with these USC Upstate and Eastern Illinois squads with K-State and Iowa State. And a turnover on the inbound as Poindexter, the benefactor, trying to go behind the back. Lands back with Poindexter, a quick three taken. Moppin over the back, called for a foul. That'll be her third.
Yeah, that's the block out right there by Arroyo. Number 10, the redshirt freshman coming in. You got to get good position. She does that deep. I think what we're seeing now, some of these youngsters getting some quality time from Marcus McLaughlin. He's got Tiny Lewis out there and able to run the point, kind of throwing some different looks for them in. But I think this is a great opportunity. You give them this chance. And they themselves, just like everybody, we got to remember, we're early December still. I mean, teams have played 7, 8 games, but yet you're still learning about your team. You're still trying to figure out who's going to be able to be some of those consistent roster spots that you want. Who's going to be able to come in and give you solid minutes off the bench. All of that still a work in progress for every team around the country.
Shot clock at 15 for Glenn, who, by the way, with that last 3 got into double figures. Poindexter, with a defender running at her, can't hit the 3-pointer. Rebound batted around. Maupin comes away with it, shoveling it underneath. I think either trying to put it on the deck or passing. Either way, knocked away and a turnover. Maupin, crazy athleticism, was a very raw recruit a couple of years ago for K-State, but has been a solid bench player for K-State. 4 points a game off the bench last year. It's been the same number this year. Kick ball by Sundell.
You go back to her freshman year, she had to play a lot of minutes because you had no Ayoka Lee, and that presence wasn't there. When Lee was out and missed 7 games a season ago, she got more minutes. So it is tough. It's hard when you play behind an All-American. That is not necessarily an easy thing to do, but you learn and you battle also against that person in practice. You watch them, you soak it all in, and I think you're seeing some of the evolution of Maupin's game and that understanding.
Players hit the deck. The foul will be called on K-State. Count the basket, and one on the foul on Taylor. Second foul on the Wildcats in this quarter, and one chance for Filippo, the freshman.
And Eastern Illinois has not backed down on their tenacity to get to the rim. They have penetrated with a vengeance tonight. They've gone up against this big back line of Kansas State and gone right at them. That time finishing the old-fashioned 3-point play. 5
points off the bench for the true freshman. Makes the gap 40 once more. State's average margin of victory coming in at 35, which ranks second in the Big 12, behind only West Virginia. Into Taylor. She'll lay it in. Taylor in double figures again for the 5th time this year in 8 games. Now 9. Taylor's numbers, limited time. K-State playing a little short-handed. No Gisela Sanchez again tonight for K-State. Back in street clothes. Sanchez with a hand injury out for an undetermined, unrelated, or undisclosed amount of time. Doesn't sound like it's going to be a terribly long amount of time. Sanchez not playing. You've already got Briley Glenn redshirting this year. Michaela Parks and Alexis Hess both injured out for the year, so now your bench is a little shorter if you're K-State. Finley Onstead has not played. Same can be said for the Panthers. They're out with a couple of players tonight. Well, that's why you have some starters still in here down the stretch. K-State not able to go perfect 5 for 5 off their bench.
No, and it gives you some different rotations, and it also allows you some different looks. Able to spread things out, put players at different spots. Poindexter, Glenn, almost interchangeable at that 2-3 position themselves.
Foul on the floor before Taylor's shot.
And what we haven't seen much of through this first 8 games of the season is Serena Sundell having to be a true point guard. While she does kind of share a lot of those ball handling duties, she's been much more in that 2 spot, moved off the ball, with Ziana Walker and Taryn Sides being able to handle the majority of that load.
Pass was not where Lester wanted it, and it turns to a turnover, but Sundell recovers to knock it out. It'll stay with Eastern Illinois. When we come back, a final word here in the 4th quarter. Kansas State up big when we return on ESPN+. .org/donate. Zy Walker, 1 of 4 in double figures for K-State. Walker has not scored in the second half, but up to 8 assists, so 2 assists away from a double-double is Walker, which would be the first in her K-State career. And a foul on the drive and shot by Arroyo, working against Walker. Walker has her second. So you're getting the final few minutes of this. Both teams now playing for, again, the future. We heard Hannah talk about pressure opportunity. You want to mention that. And Marcus, the head coach of Eastern Illinois, Marcus McLaughlin, saying about this team playing for the conference tournament, recognizing that's the case. They're going to play tough opponents here early, getting some young players some experience. What else beyond that, execution-wise, are you looking for here if you're Eastern Illinois?
Well, I think one of their bright spots has been what they've done with their out-of-bounds sets underneath. You just saw another bucket. They've had some great looks that they've done And I think they've had quality possessions, especially when they use the 5 out and the pick and pop, and just a lot of missed opportunities and missed shots early in this game, especially in the first quarter. And then it just starts to snowball. But this Kansas State defense continues to have that relentless quality where they're going to pressure you at every single spot on the floor. You might get a backdoor here or there, but the majority of the time, this group has been very solid in how they manage team defense, and that is what is making them very difficult to be beaten.
Pull-up jumper, that will not go. We've seen Arroyo and Filippo, 2 freshmen, really try and pick up the scoring. Again, Maupin running the court. One of the best things she can do, and 6 points for Maupin, all in transition. Another assist to the Wildcats. K-State with 24 assists. It's their 7th game this year out of 9 that they've had 20 or more assists in a game. Their high was 30 in the game against DePaul. Taylor. Walker. First, second half points come on another 3.
I think the confidence continues to just build for Ziona Walker, and you see it. You see it in every possession that she's had. See how she's become an incredibly aggressive defender as well. One of the biggest things that young guards have to learn how to do is to be able to defend like that without fouling. The key will be the minute she's able to play on the floor. She's managed that well. She did it against UCA on Sunday, so far here tonight. But this is the growth factor for these young players for Kansas State, and they are just continuing to blossom.
And attacking right now at the rim, getting anything they want. Substitution brings Colson in for this Eastern Illinois squad. You see Maupin with the shot fake to get the freshman in the air, get the and 1. So Maupin with a season-high 8 points, or closing in on a season high, I should say. She has 8 points today, 10 in the game against Little Rock earlier this year.
We mentioned kind of one of those statistical areas at the beginning of the ball game, which was to think about how can this team be better on the offensive glass, that you've got to continue to be aggressive, that it's not always the putbacks, but that you extend those possessions. They had just 3 offensive boards in the first half. They now have 11 in this game. So they have done an even better job here in the second half of being more aggressive, getting those second chance opportunities, and really forcing this Panther defense to have to shut them down.
Ball gets stuck at the rim. Jump ball becomes K-State possession. So in addition to fans being able to say they were there the night that Ayoka Lee broke the record, they can also say, hey, we were also there. Remember the ball got wedged in the glass and the rim? Sides a no-look pass to Lester. Wasn't quite ready. Lester facing up. Shot clock winding down. At the buzzer. Misses. And the forced turnover on the shot clock violation will go to Eastern Illinois. So look at Lester. Turnovers, another thing that I'm sure Jeff Mitty will talk about after today's game. Now, while it was better in the second half, only 6 have come here in the 6th half, and that was the 6th right there.
Yeah.
A little better than the first half. It still isn't, I'm sure, up to the standard that Jeff Mitty would want.
Well, I think you have to go back and look at some of the last few games that K-State has had. 18 turnovers against Duke. They had 9 in the win against DePaul in Las Vegas. 12 on Sunday against UCA. But I think all of these teams have done something different defensively, and they have come at Kansas State in different ways. Whether it's been aggressive out front, whether they've tried to get more tips and be a better help side in the post and limit the touches for Lee. The turnovers tonight, those are 15 right now for Kansas State. So that's the type, it's the focus that slips at times where you maybe force it, you try to do too much, you don't get quality execution, where you get a player that just tries to do too much themselves individually. All of that is where this team can continue to make those steps and improve.
Pull-up 3 by Filippo won't go. As we near the final minute of this one, game result never really in doubt in the second half, just the final score, the last thing to come. Bench was telling Maupin to shoot that 3-pointer. Sides will do the honors and hit another. So Sides with back-to-back games with 4 more threes, 12 for Sides, all on 3-pointers.
I
5 in double figures.
You are watching 2 sophomore guards, and I would say even though Ziana Walker, redshirt sophomore, both really last year their first year of quality play, big time play, just continuing to blossom, to have more confidence, to want the ball in their hands, to be willing to make the play. But the beauty of it is not trying to do too much, and that's where you have to land. It's a sweet spot, and it's hard to teach, and young guards have a struggle with it, but they're doing their job here so far early in the season.
Walker, who started the game with a steal, maybe ending the game with a steal as well, as he lays it up and in. 16 for Walker. Maupin had fallen down, so an easy lay-in for Eastern Illinois the other way. K-State cannot hold for the final shot, so they'll have to take one more as they try to get to 90 points on the night. Came in averaging 85.5 to this Wildcat bunch. Walker is tied a career high with her 16 points. Here's Lester just bowling her way in, and she'll lay it in. So the Wildcats at 90 points as they do the finishing touches on this one. Colson, one of the team captains, able to spin in a left hand. She's got 6 off the bench, and that'll do it. 90-43 the final. Kansas State will get to 8-1 on the year, and they'll turn their attention to USC Upstate coming up on Thursday night.
Well, it was a record-setting night. Ayoka Lee breaking the all-time scoring record at Kansas State, but you continue to see this Wildcat team make the step